Hello, it's Amy with Soft Wooden Crafting, coming to you from sunny South Texas, down in the Rio Grande Valley. Very warm out today. We're supposed to get a front on between Sunday and Monday, which will cool things down. But right now, we're seeing some late spring weather, really, really warm outside. But anyway, so I was going through Pinterest and I was inspired by a design I saw by Cheeky Sweet Designs. So I decided, you know what, we're coming up at the end of the year. I have a lot of things in my stash that I haven't used, and let's pull some of those things out and use them for crafting. And so I was inspired by her design in order to use it as a layout with some of my own papers. And one of the papers, I found a stack of paper I think I may have used once, and then I totally forgot I had it. And it's this very old paper that is called Expressions in Ink. It's Specialty Designer Series paper. So really, really old, but very, very pretty with the gold. And I had it buried so far back in my stash, I totally forgot I even had it. And so I was like, you know what, definitely need to use this paper today and maybe through the weekend, see what kind of cards I can make with this paper and get it used up. And that's kind of my goal for 2026. I want to get some of this old DSP that I have and use it up so that make way for new designer series paper. I shouldn't say that, but that's really my end goal. I need more room. Anyway, I decided to use this specialty paper in order to do my card design. And this is the card design today. So hers, I can't remember if it had this layer with the white cardstock in the background. I can't remember, but it definitely had 3 different layers of DSP. And I didn't know what size. There was no measurements or anything came with it. So I decided to kind of come up with my own. I also found, I was looking for gold foil. I couldn't find any gold foil, but I did find this old Grapefruit Grove foil paper. It has another color, I think lipstick something or other, which is really kind of, it looks like a hot pink. That, of course, wouldn't go with this particular card, but I thought, you know what, this Grapefruit Grove kind of goes with this paper. It's not an exact match, but I think it works pretty well. So I decided, and since this paper was Expressions in Ink, I decided to pull out, I believe, the stamp set that kind of came out at that time. And that was the Artistically Inked Cling Stamp set. And again, I don't know how old this is, but it is pretty old. I've had it for a long time. I think I've maybe used it a couple of times. I'm so bad about getting something and then I use it a couple of times and then I kind of forget that I have it. So I really just use the stamp in here, the hello, but I use the dies. So with the dies, I decided to use this set as kind of the focal point on the front of the card. And so I die cut this out of that Grapefruit Grove foil, and you can see it right here. And then I use some old champagne rhinestones to kind of set it off. So anyway, today I'm going to go ahead and show you how I went ahead and made this card. So let me move this out of the way. First, I'm using this is, and please, when you make this card, just use it as a design. Use what you have in order to make the card. Use whatever papers you have, use whatever dies you have. If you don't even have dies, you don't even have to use dies. You can use circles and things as kind of like your focal point. It's can be used a lot of different ways. I might experiment with that some this weekend and see what I can come up with and maybe show you next week. But what I have here is a card base. This is Pale Papaya. It's an old color, 8.5 by 5.5, and it is scored at 4 1/4. Okay, I have a card layer that is 5 1/4 by 4 in basic white. I have actually 2 of those, one to go in the inside. Okay. I have a strip of the DSP and it is 1/2 inch, and it's pretty long because I wanted to put it at the bottom of the card so you can go on the inside, and I want to have extra so I could have room to make sure that it kind of lines up on both sides. All right, so just long enough, longer than your 5 1/4. All right, so then I have my 3 pieces of DSP. So this one is going to be at the top of the card, and it is 5 by 2. My next set is, it's the back of this paper, and it is 5 by 3/4. And then last paper, I just went through my other papers and I found this pale papaya paper, and it's 5 by 1 1/4. So those are the pieces I'm going to use for my card. I also have some scrap in order to stamp a circle with hello on it. I have some scrap of the Grapefruit Grove to do to punch out kind of like a trim for my circle. And then I already die cut this out, but this is from the Grapefruit Grove, and it's for using the die set of the artistic dies. Okay, so very old, retired stamp set. But like I said, when making this card, just kind of follow the design in order to make your card. So let me move some of this out of the way so we can get started. The first thing I want to do is I'm just going to go ahead and glue this to my card. So let me grab my green glue, and it is halfway, so it is pretty wide. Okay, but I want to make sure I don't go too far up so that I get the glue up. But I did want to put it on the back because sometimes I go too far and then I end up with kind of a mess of glue on the DSP, and I didn't want to do that. Okay, so we're just lining this up at the bottom, just doing something a little different, putting it at the bottom instead of putting it up a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to take my scissors and I'm just going to trim that off on both sides. And so now it's perfectly lined up with the card, and this is going to be the insert to my card. So I'm going to put that aside for right now. All right, so now I'm ready to, I want to make the front of my card. Okay, so what I would like to do is I'm going to start with this first layer, this first DSP, and I'm going to put this at the top. So let me add my glue. If you want to use, what is it called? Seal, Stampin' Seal. You can. I don't use it very much because down here it's very humid and my things kind of fall apart when I use the seal. So what I'm trying to do is getting it at the top and the sides kind of like at the same. Let me use my grid. Okay, so try to get it at 1/8 of an inch at the top, the sides. I know that didn't come out very straight, but that's okay. All right, so now I'm going to do the same, but I'm going to do the bottom piece next because I want the green to be kind of overlapping both layers. Okay, and so this time I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to the bottom. I'm going to line it up. I want to make sure it lines up on the sides with the top piece of the DSP. Okay. And it's kind of lines up. And now I'm ready to add this very simple card. Doesn't take very long to make. I think the most is actually just cutting out your pieces, including the die. So what I want to do is I don't want it to overlap the bottom as much. So I'm just doing I'm putting it on top, but I went less on the bottom than I have on the top. Okay, and there we go. Okay, so now I'm going to add this to my card base. And so now I'm going to kind of line it up again. I'm going to center it side to side. There's my score mark. So I'm going to use that as kind of like my base. Again, trying to get it to where it's 1/8 of an inch all the way around, straight. Okay. I'm trying to be careful not to slide my card, so I'm holding it with these fingers as I kind of put down and put my glue down. Okay, so now I'm ready to add my focal point, which is my die cut here. So what I want to do is I'm going to grab my silicone mat, because yes, I do have the new mat, but I don't want to be cleaning glue off of the glass mat right now because I don't have anything. I don't think that would be good to pick it up. So I'm going to lay some glue out, turn this over, and I am going to use a sponge dauber. And I'm just going to pick up some glue, and I'm just going to kind of dab it around, not daub it, dab it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to get glue on the back here so that it will stick to your card. Okay, so now I'm ready to go. Let me move that out of the way. And want to make sure that the foil doesn't come off the card, but it can overlap onto the white. Just kind of like pressing it down with the glue. Okay. And there we go. All right, so now I'm ready to stamp my hello. I'm using Secret C. And I'm using the hello from the what is it called? The Artistically Inked Stamps. So tap, tap, tap. Let's put this here. I'm holding it down so that the ink transfers. And I kind of like doing this first before I punch out. And in this case, I'm using the 1 1/4 punch. It's retired, I believe, but I love my punches, so I'll never get rid of them. Okay, go ahead and punch that out. And then I'm using the 1 3/8, kind of like, I don't even know what you would call this. Scalloped, there we go. Scalloped, and I'm going to do a scalloped piece to go behind my hello. Okay, so let me add a little bit of glue to the back of this. Just kind of put it on. And try not to like do this because you'll just push it off the foil. Give it a chance to grip. Now I'm going to get some of my dimensionals. I'm using up the very end of this sheet. So I cut them up into smaller pieces, and now I'm just going to add them to the back of the scallop piece. Grab my Take Your Pick tool. Let's get the backs off, the backings off. Okay, and now it's time to add it to. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of getting it between the top piece and the middle piece. I don't know why, but I kind of like that effect. Okay. Now I'm ready to add my insert. Let me close this glue before I stick something in it, because I have known to do that on many occasions. All right, so let me add some glue to the back of this. Remember, don't put your glue so close to the edge that when you stick it down, it smears out of your card. And even though I try very hard not to do that, it still happens to me on occasion. Okay. But now I'm doing the same thing, trying to line it up top to bottom, centering it, holding it down while I press the glue in so I don't slip it off the card base. Okay. I'm ready to burnish this. Get my bone folder. Being careful with where the foil is. Okay. And now the last thing I want to do is I'm going to add some of these very old champagne rhinestone jewels to my card, just to add, give it a little bit of bling. I'm going to use my take your pick tool to grab those pieces. So I'm going to grab a smaller one here, stick it here. Oops. Couldn't see where it was and I stuck it too high. There we go. Let me fix my putty. Okay. All right, so there's another one. And then I get a larger one and put it over here in the green. And there we go. There is our card using the design inspired by Cheeky Sweet Designs. And it was just her using 3 different pieces of card. And she used something like leaves and something for a focal, to create some kind of focal point. I don't remember off the top of my head what it was. But in trying to use up my stash, I saw these papers and went, wait a minute, I have some stamps and dies that kind of go with that paper. And so I pulled those out, and this is kind of what I came up with. So I hope I've inspired you to go and go through your stash, find those pretty papers that you have hidden away or accidentally bought, well, you bought them on purpose, but then you decided to save it for something special and then kind of forgot you have that paper, because that's my major problem. Is I buy them and I think, oh, these papers are so pretty, I need to save them for something special, and then I end up not using them. And we need to use those papers. They're pretty, and as the paper itself brings me joy, I know that when I give this card away to somebody, it's going to give them joy too. Because remember, giving somebody a card, sending them a card, is like getting a hug in the mail. So get out there, make those cards, and get them sent. Don't hoard, send. Right? So I hope I've inspired you. I hope you all have a great weekend, and I hope that you all have a very blessed new year as it comes up to 2026 next year. Take care, and I'll see you later.